Good morning, 9 o'clock on KCMO Talk Radio. I'm Pete Mundo. Great to have you on board. So, and just a quick programming note for tomorrow. That way you're here. I know you will be, but just in case. Bill O'Reilly on the show, 8:30 tomorrow morning. So set the alarm. Make sure you're streaming us if you're at the home office. Plenty of people do that. That's the only way my daughters hear my voice in the morning, is on the Google Home that's plugged in the kitchen. So they're now out of the house by now, so I can't say anything to them. But either way, Google Home, Alexa, just tell it to play KCMO. We've got you covered as you work from the home office on a Friday morning or today. Maybe you're an everyday work from homer. So the young male counterculture that has been a big part of the political discussion over the last several months that Donald Trump really focused on and was a risky political move, because this is the demographic that is least likely to get out there and go vote. And it does look like Donald Trump performed much better with the 18 to 29-year-old group than he ever has. And Republicans in general did much better with this age group than they ever have. When you look at some of the numbers here, and these are still estimates when it comes to exit polling, but men 18 to 29 voted for Donald Trump, or voted for Kamala Harris by 2 points, 49 to 47. So basically dead even. Men 30 to 44 voted for Donald Trump, 51 to 45. And then men, as they got older, really, this is interesting. Men 45 to 64, 59% voted for Trump. But then men 65 plus, only 54% voted for Trump. So once again, that 65 plus crowd is the crowd that shifted slightly towards Kamala Harris, one of the only demographic groups that moved towards Kamala Harris was 65 plus, and then college educated females. That's it. But when you look at this, white men moved towards Donald Trump. Young white men, 18 to 29-year-olds, moved towards Donald Trump by 11 points. And that was a big focus for this Trump campaign. Young men, but also young black men moved towards Trump, and Latino men in general, but especially young Latino men, moved towards Donald Trump. And why is that? Well, for nearly a generation now, young men have been ostracized. They have not been told that they can really, in many ways, achieve whatever they want to achieve because we've put too much on the other gender. And I say this all as a proud father of 3 young daughters. Going rah-rah, young women, do what you want to do, be what you want to be is great. But especially on the Democratic side, the left side of the political aisle, that was pushed at the expense of men. The Me Too movement was not about facts. The Me Too movement was simply, if you are a woman and you say something happened, you have to be believed because of your gender. Nobody is factually accurate because of their gender and their anatomy. You're factually accurate because the facts are behind you. Me Too was not about facts. Me Too was just simply, hey, your gender is this. If you say something happened, you must be believed. It was one of those movements that was intended for the right reasons. The Me Too movement had legitimacy in the sense that for too long, women felt like they couldn't speak out about really bad things that happened to them by men. There was a time, of course, in the country, it predates me being alive, but that was true. Absolutely. But then, as is always the case with some of these left-wing initiatives, it swung the pendulum too far in one direction, where basically it said, if you're a woman and you say something, you're right. And that just wasn't the case. Whether it's the Duke lacrosse story, which was a bunch of white males who got accused of doing something that turned out to be completely fabricated from going on 20 years ago now, all the way up through, look at the Chiefs punter. Matt Araiza turned out to be a false accusation. The guy lost his career temporarily because of it. And if he wasn't as good of a punter as he is, he probably would still be out of work. He just happened to be one of the best in the world at what he does, so he's back in the mix and he's punting for the Chiefs. I want to share with you something that I read last night on X, and it was written by a lady named Claire Lemon. I've got the Claire thing going this morning. Claire McCaskill, my daughter Claire Lemon. She writes for The Australian, which is news out of the other side of the world. But I thought it was a very interesting and well-said piece on how we got here. And she writes here that Tuesday night was the revenge of the silent male voter. And I won't read for you the whole thing. But what she says here, in part, is this. In the coming days, much will be written about working-class concerns, issues that have become familiar focal points for those seeking to understand Donald Trump's support. But while inflation and border policies will no doubt have played a role in Republicans' landslide victory, we might also want to look at the sentiments expressed by young male voters, voters who represent a new and emerging contingent in American politics. Nothing about the young men I spoke to appeared particularly conservative or right-wing. Yet it was easy for them to explain why they voted for Donald Trump. And if we zoom out and look at the broader cultural trends, it should be easy for us to understand. If we take a macro perspective, we see that such young men have never known a culture in which males are not routinely described as problematic, toxic, or oppressive. Going to universities, working at modern companies, they live in a world of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, many of which promote an insidious and pervasive form of anti-male discrimination. Yet to talk about it in public invites social ostracism. To criticize DEI is to risk being called a Nazi. These young male voters know about theories of patriarchy and white supremacy, but they have never known a culture which celebrates a great man theory of history. Thomas Carlyle's 19th century framework for understanding the past is not worthy in some cases of serious thought. Today we acknowledge historical figures not for their feats, but for their crimes. That's an excellent point as well. We tear down the monuments of our past while building no new heroes for our future. The problem with this way of viewing the world is that it's alienating. It's self-defeating. It's also wrong. By any objective standards, Elon Musk is a great man of history who is influencing the course of civilization for generations to come. Yet, despite his achievements, Musk is more likely to be scorned than celebrated by the Democratic establishment. This is why Trump's victory transcends conventional political analysis. It represents more than a rebuke of border policies or inflation rates. It's a sign of a resurrection of old truths. That's just part of this. I will share this on X at Pete Mundo when I have a moment here during the break. But as much as we'll talk about the policies that drove a Kamala Harris defeat and a Donald Trump win, I do think that the ostracization of young men in particular and the way that young men swung dramatically towards the Republican Party is something that should not be overlooked in the broader cultural conversation. 913-408-7957. Jose is in DeSoto. Hey, Jose, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Great to be on here. Great to listen to you.
Thanks for being here, my man. Appreciate it. What's up?
Oh, man, I just want to tell you, I'm a 40-year-old male, Latino male, Hispanic male, I should say, Mexican-American, second generation, who voted for Trump this week. And I'll be honest with you, the first two terms, I didn't vote for him. But, this new term, these past couple of years, and especially, this past 12 months, he changed my mind about his views, and J.D. Vance too, being alongside him, really helped that push for me as well to see something like them really representing the heart of America. And that's exactly what I needed because, like I said, I was on that other side of the spectrum, man, part of that woke, liberal crowd the first time. But, I had a nice, real, true awakening of what it meant to be an American and the true values of being an American.
Well, that's awesome, Jose. God bless you, man.
I grew up in the inner city, Kansas City, and really started seeing a change of what America was becoming. You know what I'm saying? Saw less and less American flags flying up, and other, multicolored flags, which is not a problem. We live in a country where you can fly any flag you really want as long as you're American, you're true American. And moving out into rural America, seeing more American flags flying around and seeing what it really truly meant to be, the heart of America, kids riding their bikes around to the local ice cream shop and everything. It's like, this is what we need to get back to, man. This is the America that I know, that I knew. And, I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to see, moving a step forward, a true step forward, not a step backwards for America.
That's amazing, Jose. And it really took the last, you say 12 months or so, and J.D. Vance was one of the big reasons when you started to hear him talk, because they tried to kill him. They tried to kill him as well, figuratively speaking, of course.
Yeah, I just started watching that movie of his, haven't finished it, and it's really, I can't wait to see him in the future. It's reminding me a lot like, Patrick Mahomes when he first got signed on. We're waiting for his next turn up. I'm ready to put him in, coach. Let's get these 4 years going and set it up for another victory.
That's great.
Back-to-back victories.
That's great. Hey, thank you, Jose. And how'd you find us here on KCMO, if I may ask?
Oh man, just scanning through, and I heard your voice, and I was like, oh, what is he talking about? I like hearing this. This is what I need to hear. Some true news. You know what I'm saying? Keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? Not
That's what we're doing, man. And just real quick, too, I mean, the move in Latino men across the board, it's historic for the Republican Party. As you hang out and talk in your circles, were you surprised by these numbers with Latino men?
I truly am. My dad jumped on board as well, too. He's born, he was born in Mexico and came over, legally and did the proper ways of getting his citizenship and everything. And, he realized too, man, I don't like the way this Biden guy's going. He was not a fan of Biden, and watching him talk, man, we fly a Mexican flag in front of our house, and we also got our Trump sign in front of our house, let you know we're proud Mexican Americans, and we're not following the suit of the Democrats who think, this is where Latino votes need to go, man. Like, no, we need. This is the way we need to go if we want to, have Mexicans who want to come over the right way, want to have that true American dream, the right way, not just flooding over who doesn't need to be here.
Jose, great call, my man. I appreciate you being here, and don't be a stranger.
No, I'll call back again.
Good deal. Good to hear from Jose in DeSoto. I'm going to pivot off of something Jose just said and get to something and multiple things that were said in the media over the last 24 hours, specifically about the Latino movement. And in the meantime, I'm glad that Jose and his dad weren't fans of what Joe Biden was saying.
But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, who needed more of that? Smack me, Joe! Spank me! By the way, Joe's speaking at about 10 o'clock. So if that works in the Ray Stevens show, we'll carry Joe Biden's comments here on KCMO 95.7. Make sure you hang out for that. But, yeah, what was said about Latino voters after this historic movement? We'll get to some of that coming up on 95.7 FM KCMO. I'm Pete Mundo. Oh, yeah, baby. A little Creed. What is it, 2001 around here?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Creed was at T-Mobile. Could you imagine celebrating a Donald Trump victory by watching Creed last night at T-Mobile? Oh, my goodness. That would have been something. I know there were many of you I saw on social media who were there. Scott Stapp letting it rip. And Creed Humphrey showed up on stage. Oh, my goodness.
That's incredible.
What a night. What a night.
And Creed the band was actually on the sideline. They had sideline passes for the Chiefs game the other night.
Oh, were they there?
So they came into town early to go enjoy Creed playing.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. Got to watch the election results from downtown KCMO. Oh, what a thing of beauty. That's great. So we just got done talking to Jose at a DeSoto, and he called as a 40-year-old Latino male who did not vote for Donald Trump the first two times around and has come around to the Republican Party along with his parents in a big way. So you'd think that there would be some introspection from Democrats in the wake of what happened, where Donald Trump got the largest share of Latinos in the history of modern American politics for a Republican, beating out Ronald Reagan, beating out George W. Bush, 46% of Latinos going for Trump. Instead, what did we get over the last 24 hours? Here's a guy named Victor Martinez. MSNBC last night, Victor hosts a radio show in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. And here's what he said about Latino men. And this is perfect fodder for MSNBC because this is what affluent, woke, white progressives want to hear about Latino men as they project their virtue onto them and now will tell Latino men how dumb they are for voting for Donald Trump and also how misogynistic they are as well.
As far as the Latino vote in general, it was the Latino man. It was the Latino man who decided that they were going to vote for Donald Trump. And I will dare to say that it's the Latino man who wouldn't want a woman president. I mean, you and I had this discussion before, and I have audios from Latino men who were calling my show telling me that they wouldn't vote for her just because she was a woman. And that is unfortunately, but that's part of the Latino culture, right? Where the Latino, the man is the one, the provider, and we're the boss. And we still unfortunately have a lot of Latinos with that mentality where the woman belongs in the kitchen. That is a reality of the Latino male chauvinist culture. And I think that's exactly what happened.
So that's what MSNBC viewers want to hear. That's exactly what they want to hear. And I would beg MSNBC to keep doubling down on that because that will just drive more Latinos into the Republican camp. I would love for that to continue on. Victor Martinez, a radio host in Pennsylvania, is giving the MSNBC woke, white, affluent viewer exactly what they want to hear. And if that's your takeaway, if that's what you think is the takeaway here, please continue on as business as usual and see how that works for you in future elections. Please.
It's nice to have some of my Latino brothers over here because for a while I was just the white racist. Now I got a few or misogynists, I guess.
That's what's going on here.
Yeah.
Suddenly these are white Latinos. I'm sure they're going to have some stupid name for them, right?
Yeah,
These are going to be the white supremacist Latinos now. They're going to rebrand them.
Walter nailed it yesterday calling from Spring Hill about being the white supremacist black male voter for Trump.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where this is trending. And if that's going to be something that they think is the play here, if that's what they believe went wrong for them, we just had a woman and Latino men don't like women. That doesn't explain Latino voters shifting 20 to 30 points from Hillary Clinton, who they voted for 8 years ago.
Inconvenient fact.
I mentioned this yesterday. Starr County, Texas. Right along the southern border in Texas. Most Hispanic county in America. At 97%. Donald Trump won it by 16 points over Kamala Harris. Hillary Clinton won it over Donald Trump by 60 points. A 76-point swing for a Latino county. They voted for a woman 8 years ago, you dummies. That's not what it's about. But please keep doing it. Milt in Des Moines, Iowa. What's up, Milt, up there in Iowa?
Hey, Pete, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, my man.
Hey, I just wanted to call in and say that I listen to your program every day, probably since I found you about maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I think you have the best show on. I listen to a lot of talk, as I was telling the screener, I listen to a lot of talk radio throughout the day. And you have the best analysis. I just like the way your take on things. And I just kind of had to call in and say that you have a great show.
Well, thank you for that, Milt. Are you on the AM or are you listening on the stream?
Well, it's on stream.
All right. Well, and how'd you find us then?
I don't know. I just do a lot of searching and it just came up and I started listening to you and I thought you have a great take on everything.
Well, that's very nice of you, Milt. I appreciate that, my man. Have a great day.
Same here. Thank you much.
All right. There you go. Wish my family felt that way about all my takes. But I'm glad Milt does. Sit at the dinner table, I got yelled at. I come here and Milt has nice things to say. So thank you, Milt.